Today we're going to showcase how Fastpath Assure for Acumatica can help to simplify and automate your access reviews and segregation of duties analysis. We'll start by going into access reviews, where we're going to try to answer two basic questions. One, who has access to Acumatica, and two, what can they do with that access? We'll start with our user access report. From here, you can filter down user access based on the companies you have loaded into your Acumatica system, the users, the security objects, and in this case, we'll look at a specific security object. So say we want to understand who has access to the customer's screen within Acumatica. When we run our report, we'll look at all of your users within Acumatica. We'll look at the roles assigned to those users, and we'll be able to tell you for each screen within Acumatica what users have access and what is their access level within the specific company. So if we look at Alberto here, he has access to our customers object. His access has been revoked for this specific screen. From there, we can drill in and see how Alberto has gained access to this object. In this case, he has a role called internal user that is providing this access. From here, we can export these reports out to CSV, Excel, or PDF. We can also save or schedule these reports if we want to send them out on a recurring basis to users. Next step is we can also look at access with a more risk-based approach, and that's with our critical access feature. With critical access, there's a couple steps involved. First, defining critical access groups. Typically, customers define these according to business process. So I have a critical access group for accounts payable or accounts receivable, and within those groups, just the security objects that would pertain to that specific business process and those that are considered high risk. Once we've defined these groups, from there we can run our critical access report, select our accounts payable critical access group, and now when we run this report, we're going to see all the users that have at least one of, or have access to at least one of the security objects within that group, and also have the ability to modify data in Acumatica using that security object. Next, we're going to look at segregation of duties. With segregation of duties, we're trying to answer one basic question. Where do you have risk in your user access? We break this module down into three basic steps. The first step is going to be defining that risk, and that's going to be your conflict rule set. Second step is going to be determining where you have risk in your user access. And then the third step is going to be documentation of mitigating controls back against those risks. Basically answering the question of what are you doing about that risk. So let's start with step one. How do you define risk? Well, at Fastpath, we define risk as a library of conflicts, with each conflict consisting of one or more business processes. Out of the box with Fastpath Assure, you get the conflict rule set that our internal audit team built specifically for Acumatica. From here, you can customize this rule set and extend it by creating your own custom conflicts. And you can also modify the existing conflicts that are included out of the box. From here, the next step is going to be determining where you have risk in your user access. There's a few different ways that we can do that. First is if we go to the user conflicts report. Again, you can filter down by company, user, as well as conflict here. And now when we run this report, we're going to look at the same data set that we looked at in our access reviews module. So which users have access to which security objects in Acumatica. And we're going to compare that back against the conflict rule set that you've defined in step one. From here, we're going to tell you where your users have risk. So if we look at our user admin here, they have the three-way match manipulation conflict, which is a medium risk conflict, and they have that in the Fastpath company. We can also drill into this record to see how this user is gaining access to the different business processes as well as security objects within this conflict. So you can see there's a variety of roles here that this user has, which are providing that risk. Next, we can also look at risk from a role perspective. So in this case, we take the user out of the equation. Now we can select one or more roles. And typically we see our customers use this page in a couple of different scenarios. One would be the what if scenario. What if I were to assign these two roles to a user? What kind of risk might I introduce into the system? And then also from a role design perspective. As you're going through and building out your roles in Acumatica and you want to understand what kind of segregation of duties impact you might have, you can use this page to determine that. Next step is going to be documentation of mitigating controls back against our user conflicts. There's a few different ways for us to do that, but one is if we go back to the user conflicts page, if we run this report, the status column on this report is going to be the status of our current mitigating control. New indicates we haven't documented anything, so we can drill into that status from this page. Now we can specify what our mitigating control is, choose our status, and then enter any notes that might be relevant for this mitigating control. Once we've done that, we can document that mitigation back against this user conflict, which will update the status in the system. We can also bulk create this documentation at the conflict level. Now we're going to look at how we automate and simplify the certification process with regards to access reviews and segregation of duties. Certifications is going to be the process for sending out data for review to specific business process owners, collecting feedback, and then reviewing that feedback for next steps. First step is going to be determining which users need to review which components of the access reviews or segregation of duties data. We do that by creating review assignments. Review assignments can be created against a specific user and can be of a variety of different types. For example, I have the three-way match manipulation conflict assigned to be reviewed by the user Zach Weir. You can also do that by business process, by security role, by critical access group, and by product. Once you've defined who is going to be doing your reviews, from there you have to determine when those reviews will take place. We go to our review schedules page. You can create two different types of reviews for each review type. A full review is going to be the entire data set. So for example, if I run a full review on a yearly basis, everybody that's assigned to review role assignments will receive all users that have that role assignment for review. Next would be a rolling review. So typically we see customers run a full on a yearly basis and then do rolling reviews on a more frequent basis, perhaps quarterly or monthly. With a rolling review, you're only going to see what's changed since the last full. Once these schedules have been set up and run, from there, your users who are assigned to review data will get emails indicating they have new reviews to complete within Fastpath Assure. They'll go to My Reviews. They'll see the reviews they've been assigned. They'll be able to drill in. In this case, I've been assigned to review all users that have access to the branch HQ role in Acumatica. Select that role and I'm going to see all users that have that access. From here, I can either check the green box to indicate that yes, this user should have access, or no, they should not have access, and then any notes that might be relevant. Once my review is complete, I can submit it for approval, and from there it can be further reviewed to determine any next steps that may be necessary.